Hi everybody, welcome back to the Chorley Chatter podcast. I'm Emily from the Mortgage Store Chorley. Now this Sunday, the 19th of May, is World IBD Day. Inflammatory bowel disease affects millions of people worldwide. There's no cure, there's no known cause, and there's little public understanding of the pain and chronic suffering that these IBD patients cope with every day of their lives. I recently sat down with Victoria Danson, founder of Crohn's and Colitis Support Lancashire, to find out more. Victoria, welcome to Chorley Chatter. Thanks for being on the podcast. Now, you run a support group for people with Crohn's and colitis. Can you tell us a little bit about these conditions and how they affect people?
So, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis are two conditions of inflammatory bowel disease. So they affect different parts of the digestive system. So Crohn's disease affects all the way from the mouth right through to the anus with inflammation throughout the digestive tract. It doesn't always affect all of it, but it can affect different parts, whereas colitis just affects the large bowel. So typically symptoms that somebody living with Crohn's and colitis would live with is inflammation in the body throughout the gut. That can also affect like the joints and the eyes. Malabsorption, because when you've got the inflammation and the ulcers in your digestive system, you don't absorb your nutrients as you would where the inflammation is. Urgency, so a real need to go to the toilet really quick, and that can then cause anxiety because when you're going out you always need to know where the toilet is. One of the symptoms that I had was blood, so it can cause anemia because if you're losing a lot of blood in the toilet, and mucus, because then that shows there's inflammation within the bowel. Fatigue as well, that's a real one because you're not absorbing your nutrients, you're going to the toilet a lot, so it takes it out of you. And fever as well, so I've had sepsis 3 times since living with Crohn's disease, so because your body's fighting something all the time, sometimes it just goes into overdrive.
As you mentioned, you suffer with Crohn's yourself. How old were you when you were diagnosed?
So I've lived with Crohn's disease for 15 years, so I was 19 when I got diagnosed and I started with those symptoms. I was working 60 hours a week. I always knew I wanted to be a hairdresser, so I was working as a hairdresser. I was also working as a waitress and going out with my friends at the weekends. When I started with symptoms of diarrhoea, urgency, blood in the toilet, mucus and real pain as well, that's another big symptom, is pain in the abdomen. I just put it down to burning the candle at both ends. I was drinking cheap alcohol on nights out, things like that, but it went on for quite a while and I honestly thought that I was just going to go to the doctor and they were going to give me something and that would be the end of it. I didn't know it was going to be a lifelong chronic illness.
You became seriously ill with it when you were 24 and you had to have life-saving surgery. Is it safe to say it was life-changing surgery as well?
Absolutely, life-changing on so many levels. Like, I woke up in intensive care with a stoma. I went into hospital with severe stomach pain. Obviously, I'd lived with it for 5 years. I was on different medications. There's lots of medications that you can go on that help the inflammation. But it took 12 months for me to get diagnosed. They kept saying it was IBS. So all the while, I believe my bowel was becoming more inflamed. I had a stricture which made it hard for food to pass through and narrowing in the bowel from scar tissue. So when I went in, I had no idea that I was going to leave with 18-inch of bowel less. I had an abscess in my small bowel and the terminal ileum. So the terminal ileum is where most of your food is absorbed, and typically that's where the Crohn's tends to affect because it's where the nutrients are absorbed. So I had 18-inch removed, I had an abscess and I had abdominal sepsis. So woke up in intensive care, catheter, I had oxygen, I'd had an abdominal incision all down my front, so I couldn't even sit up. Like, you don't even realise how much of your core strength is in your stomach. So I had to suck on a sponge, I couldn't eat anything because the bowel had to learn that obviously it was missing some of it. And what happens is, where that bowel would normally absorb, the rest of your bowel then has to learn to absorb higher up.
Right.
So your body's an amazing machine, isn't it?
It is.
And then I woke up with a stoma, I had an ileostomy bag, which was massively life-changing. And I thought my world was over, but actually it was just beginning.
Right. So, as you say, having a stoma completely changed your life, and you can still do pretty much everything that you want to do, can't you? It's not a limitation.
It's not, no, but it took me a long time to gain the confidence to actually do all of those things. When I first woke up in surgery, I just thought I couldn't do it. When I came out in intensive care, I thought, how am I going to do this? Like, at the time, my life was going out with my friends, you know, I was still young, I wanted to socialise, I thought, how am I going to do that with a bag? Like, that was my worst fear. And I thought to myself, you know, how am I going to get through this? I just couldn't see past it. So the nurses got 2 young girls to come and see me in hospital, and they were further on than me. They were 12 months down the line, they were working, they had the makeup on, the hair was washed. I mean, I'd not washed my hair for 2 weeks, I was so weak. You know, I had the hospital gown on, so I didn't feel my best. And when I saw them, and they'd had children as well, and I thought, do you know what, I can do it. I can actually do this. And I just gave myself small goals that would just keeping me focused. So I was thinking, right, I'll come off the oxygen, I'll get the catheter out, I'll start walking again, I'll start eating again. All the basic things that we do on a daily basis that we take for granted, I had to learn to do all those again. And then when I came out of hospital, I had to go live with my grandma and granddad because I'd lost that much weight and muscle. I couldn't even walk up the stairs. They had a stair lift. Wow. So I was like using their stair lift up and down to go to the toilet. It was a godsend. But it was in my grandma's room that actually had the idea of bringing people together. And I thought, how many people have been in my situation where they've had life-changing surgery? For the 5 years before I had surgery, I hadn't spoken to anybody about it. All my friends knew is that when I needed to go, I needed to go. I used to do girls' holidays abroad, and it'd be really difficult with the language barrier of telling people you need the toilet, and literally you wouldn't even have any time. I'd just be pushing to the front of the queue, you know, and it's really embarrassing. And I think part of me as well didn't want to accept that I was living with something or that I was different. So you kind of just like get on with it, and living in pain becomes your life, and you know, it's really difficult. So when I came round and I had the idea in my grandma's living room to actually set a support group, and I thought I want to bring people together who've been on this journey, who are feeling all these emotions that I'm feeling. And that's when I had the idea to start the support group. But also from doing that and starting the support group and bringing people together, that actually helped me on my journey to build my own confidence as well, to actually talk about my story and to know that we're not alone. And I think the fear of being different is hard for anybody. And when I was at school, I got bullied for having ginger hair, you know, freckles, pale skin, so all that had stuck with me. So when I woke up and I was different, I thought, how am I going to do this? But actually, as I've got older, I've realised that being different is good. Why would you want to be like anybody else?
Yes, you mentioned the support group. Can you tell us a bit about this group and what it offers people?
Crohn and Colitis Support Lancashire was started in April 2017. So I decided that I wanted to bring people together, a safe space where they could speak about what they were going through, they could bring their family, partner, friend, you know, because also it's good for them as well to speak to others, because my mum obviously has seen my journey. My sister has also got Crohn, so she's got 2 daughters with Crohn. She's experienced it firsthand, and she's been in hospital with us. And I just think it's really important to be able to voice, you know, how you're feeling, like the power of talking. I'll always go back to when I was in hospital, the 2 girls came to see me, how important just sharing, you know, a problem shared is problem halved, especially to people who understand what you're going through. Typically, because of what we live with, the symptoms, and it's talking about poo. I mean, I'll talk about poo all day long now, but when I first had the symptoms, even using a public toilet, you know, was a massive thing. You know, you get worried about using that, like how long you're in there and things like that. So yeah, we meet on the last Wednesday of every month, and it's at Exton Community Centre in the Annex, 7:15 till 8:30. But we have also ventured out now, and I've realised that there's so much more support that we need to give, and I myself personally have done a lot to overcome the barriers that I had in my head when I first had the surgery. So we support a lot of patients in the NHS who are due to have surgery also. In a way, I'm thankful that my surgery was emergency because I had no time to think about it. You know, they said if we don't operate, you're not going to make the next 24 hours. And you know, to think that if they hadn't have done that operation, I wouldn't be here today, you know. And I think when you're so close to death and you're that unwell, you can't do anything for yourself, I think it gives you like a new lease of life. And I realised that this is my purpose now. I want to help other people. So we actually do holistic retreats as well. So we incorporate exercise because a lot of people think they can't do that after having bowel surgery, or even when they're just living with Crohn's and colitis, to attend a gym class, and for the fear of maybe like having to leave and use the toilet. You know, we all understand and no one is judgmental because we've all been on the same journey. I have contacts with like nutritionists, so I'm very much about diet is not a cure, but there are a lot of foods that you can actually avoid and include that will help your symptoms. So I've done a massive lifestyle change, and I find that by doing certain things like smoothies and soups, so it's almost like a bit of bowel rest, you're still getting the nutrients, but you're not putting the pressure on your bowel to break it down. So I find that really helps. Cut out caffeine, that's like a bowel stimulant. Green tea, probiotics, there's lots of research on how probiotics help, so we give all this information at the retreats just to help people, and it's another way to bring them together as well.
Are you finding that inflammatory bowel disease is becoming less stigmatised, that it's more openly talked about these days?
I think social media has been a massive one. I feel like also when famous and well-known people talk about it, I think the public really respects that, and it gives them the confidence, because social media, a lot of what people see, you know, they only put the best things on, and sometimes people think, oh, especially if you're in a flare and you're not able to go out and do those things, it can make people feel like, well, I can't go out and do that. So when, you know, people talk about it and say, and openly talk about struggles as well, I think it's really important when people voice that, you know, nobody's life's perfect, no matter how it seems. You know, we all struggle, we've all got things that we're dealing with on a daily basis, and that's why kindness is key as well.
At the same time, do you think we're hearing more about it because it's becoming more acceptable to talk about it, or are there more diagnoses? Is there something about our modern way of life that's leading to more people having bowel disease?
Yeah, I do think it's becoming more common. Well, I know it's becoming more common because the amount of people that, you know, message the page and come to our support groups, plus the NHS is absolutely amazing. They're great clinically, but we all know how short-staffed they are, and there isn't that emotional support, so that's where we bridge it. But I think more people are talking about it now as well, but I do believe that there are factors that are contributing it. And I mean, I'm no researcher, but this is just what I personally think of my own findings. I do think that there's a lot of processed additives that are being put into our food now, and I don't think our bodies are designed to break it down. I feel like we're a very fast-paced society, myself included. I run a hairdressing business and I'm a mum as well, so we're here, there and everywhere. And I think most of the time, and I think back to the diet that I had when I was being diagnosed, you know, didn't even think about my health. It was just literally grab and go, just get something quick, and that tends to be unhealthy processed food. And I do believe that they're actually getting a longer shelf life out of that food, but it's putting a lot of pressure on our bodies to break down, combined with stress, genetics, because obviously if me and my sister have got it, there must be something there that's genetics. But I do think there's a few factors that play a part in it. They do say they're not sure what causes it, but I personally think that doesn't help, because if I eat something processed, straight away I can feel my body actually becoming inflamed. So I think if you don't make time for your health, there will become a point in your life where you are forced to make time for your health. And now I do lots of things to make time for my health because I know how hard it is when you don't have your health. Like the saying health is wealth is 100% true. If you've not got your health, you can't do anything.
Yeah, when we first spoke about this, when we were planning the recording, we talked about the decision to have a stoma, how incredibly difficult that must be and how it was effectively taken out of your hands. But it is often positioned as a last resort, isn't it? Do you think that impacts how people think and feel about it? Does it make it harder to accept?
100%. Yeah, I feel like in clinic I was told, you know, there might become a time where you have to have that bag. You know, it was almost told that, you know, that is final resort. And I think you almost feel like a bit of a failure that, you know, that is the final resort. And I believe that it shouldn't be put to like that, because if somebody would have told me the quality of life, I mean, I still struggle. You know, I'm currently waiting for more bowel surgery now. It's not a cure. The Crohn's has come back and it can always come back. I'm very fortunate that I've managed to get 10 years, you know, and that in the grand scheme of things is really good. All my symptoms are back, but I think the actual decision to have it is really difficult, because in an ideal world you'd rather just go to the toilet the way that you've always known, but the quality of life that it gives you afterwards, especially when you've been on the toilet 15-20 times a day, when you actually regain control of that, I think that helps you accept it. But it's a body image thing as well, so I do feel like there's a lot of pressure on society to look a certain way, and for that fear of being different. And I think it needs to be taught in education. I feel like we're taught that we go to the toilet using our bum. That's how we're taught. But I feel like if it was in education, where, you know, there are other ways that you can go to the toilet, and even like catheters and things like that, because my son actually thought that all women had a bag, and I'd never had a conversation with him about it. But when he came home from school, when he started primary school, they all got changed for PE, and he said, "Mummy, none of the girls have got that, what you've got in your stomach." And I thought, right, this is the time now to tell him this is the reason why I've had it. I've not always had it. It's just another way to go to the toilet. And he doesn't bat an eyelid now. You know, he spent half of his life in a disabled toilet with me. But that's teaching him empathy, and he will understand about it. But I feel like other children may be like, well, what's that? So I feel like we need to educate so that when these people go through these operations, it won't feel so alienated and so different. But I think when you do regain that control and accept it as well, because I'd say that's the hardest part, mentally accepting how your body's changed, having to dress it, finding new ways, you know, to do things. But I do find as well, by putting yourself out of your comfort zone, that's how you grow. So you almost like have to learn to live your life again, but with a stoma, you know, you have to try everything again. It's like people think you can't swim, they think the bag will fall off. And I thought that as well, but when my son was born, I wanted him to be able to be a strong swimmer. So I put myself out of my comfort zone and got in the water with him, and it's huge. I spent hours looking for like the right swimsuit that would give me the confidence. So it's all these things behind closed doors that we do that help accept it.
You do a lot of public speaking, educating people about inflammatory bowel disease. You've won awards. You're out and about talking about Crohn's to all different kinds of people. You even put yourself on a huge billboard in Manchester. How long did it take you to accept the stoma and to become confident to go out there and do everything that you're doing?
A good few years. So before I did the billboard, I'd never actually shared a picture on social media of my bag. I always knew that one day when I was ready, I would go big. I always knew that. And even when I started the support group, I would never share anything about my stoma. You know, I'd say I'd had bowel surgery and that's what I'd had. But I remember when I first had surgery, especially the older generation would ask me, if I said I had a bowel resection, they'd say, "Oh, have you got a bag?" And I'd say no. I'd actually say no, because I thought I just didn't want people to know. And I look back now and I think, why was I so afraid? Because like you're adding to that kind of stigma of not talking about it. And you know, the more I spoke about it and the more I told people, they were like, "Oh my God, you would never know, you know, all the things that you do." and I thought, yeah, you know, I need to talk about it, and I feel like this is my purpose now. I feel like this is my journey, and this is what I was supposed to do. I can have a reversal if I want, and sometimes people really don't understand why I don't want a reversal, because in their minds they think, well, they'd rather live without the bag than win, but they haven't walked in my shoes. And the quality of life, as I keep saying, because that is what it's about, you know, I would rather live with my bag that saved my life, be able to run my hairdressing business, be an active mum, go to the gym, have a social life, than not have the bag and be sat at home, crippled in pain, on the toilet and not being able to do anything.
You not only go out there and do public speaking and run the support group, but you do a lot of work with local businesses as well, don't you?
Yeah, so we started with UCLan, so the University of Central Lancashire. So I deliver workshops to their nursing, pharmaceutical, social care students. So that is around life with inflammatory bowel disease, what it's like to live with an invisible illness. So I educate on all the symptoms, how ill it can make you. I've got the picture of me in intensive care, because although people can see me today, I think it's really important to see how ill it can make you. But also that it's not the end of the road, and you know, I show them like inspirational videos. And I hear time and time again lots of people who are struggling in the workplace around their symptoms, how they get support, and I genuinely think it's because the employers just don't have the knowledge around it. So we're now looking at working with more businesses to do inspirational workshops around supporting mental health, supporting somebody with an invisible illness or with Crohn's and colitis, and just giving them the tools to be able to support those employees so that they in turn then will then be a better performer, because if you feel appreciated, you'll always do more.
You've got big plans for the future, starting with climbing Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that and what you're raising money for?
Yes, so I am part of an amazing group of women that are going to be taking on the challenge of Kilimanjaro. So it's my friend Jill Castle, so she has a charity called Chameleon Buddies, and she has this amazing inspirational story, and she has just become the first female solo channel swimmer. So
wow.
She swam the channel with a stoma.
Wow.
Yeah, so she has a stoma also, and her dream is to build a new ward in Kenya Hospital, to help people with a stoma there.
Right.
Because she's been doing lots of work over the years with them, and you know, they don't even have bags. Some of them, they were literally wrapping plastic bags around them, and you know, like what that can do to the skin. So she's been working with them for quite a while, sending bags out there, but now we're all raising money to be able to help support build that new ward that will help so many people out there. So I'm so excited to do it. Like, it's such a challenge, and I mean, I don't know what the toilet situation is. I can't imagine there's going to be like great toilets, but you know what? It's putting myself out of my comfort zone, and it's going to be with like-minded women who are strong, inspirational, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So that's October 2025.
Fantastic, we'll keep an eye out for that then and find out how you get on.
Yeah.
But after that, long term, you're looking to open a holistic centre.
I am, yeah.
Aren't you? So can you tell us a bit about your vision for that and how people can support you?
Yeah, so this has been a vision that I've had now for a number of years. There has been a few obstacles in the way, but I know that this dream will come true, because we're doing lots of work behind closed doors to get this off the ground. And the idea to help people holistically has come from my own experience. So as I said before, I've done a lot of lifestyle changes. You know, before I was able to share about having a stoma, you know, I had counselling, had therapy, which I think is really important. Some people still shy away from that, but I think it's really important to actually speak to somebody who doesn't know you, you know, who you're not going to think is going to tell your friends or your family, you know, and just help you process those feelings, because, you know, it's major trauma that you go through, and it's not something that you've pre-planned and it's happened and you have to, you know, work back through it and accept it and then move forward. I also want to do like massage, because I find that really induces relaxation, because we hold a lot of our tension in our muscles. And I want to do yoga, Pilates, because after you've had bowel surgery, the core strength, to help build that back up. I want to encourage exercise. And I want to do meditation workshops. I want to create this hub where people can come, and also their families and partners and friends as well, because it's equally hard to support somebody who's on that journey when you don't fully understand. And I'd like to bring it all together, and the NHS does support it, they do back it. My consultant has wrote a supporting letter for that, but it's just trying to find the right venue, the right location. I don't rush things, it's got to be right. So we are looking for sponsorship, we're looking for fundraising to help support that as well, to be able to give people that opportunity and that support, just to help ease, the struggle of living with a chronic illness.
It's been a really inspirational conversation, and it's been an absolute delight to hear about you and all the work that you're doing. But lastly, what would you say to people who are struggling with inflammatory bowel disease? Is the message, don't give up, there's light at the end of the tunnel?
Definitely. I can relate to so many people that come to our support group that think that their life is over, they can't see a way out, but I would just say never give up. Don't ever give up, because if you give up, then that's it. You know that you're quitting, but if you keep going, you never know what's going to happen, and just keep pushing through those barriers. No matter how hard it is, people will not understand you, they won't understand your journey, but it's your journey. And I just think you need to stay strong, positive. I think who you surround yourself with is massive as well. Make sure you've got a really good support network around you, and don't take anything for granted in life. Do the little things that make you happy, because they are the big things. Our daily routine makes up our life and how we feel and our thoughts. So always make time for you, no matter how busy life gets. Never put yourself as an afterthought, because we only get one body. This is the only body we will have. So even though ours might be a bit dodgy, look after it the best you can, and just never give up.
For more information, visit ibdsupport.co.uk. Yeah, thanks once again to Victoria for sharing her story, and please do get in touch with the support group if you think it would benefit you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Chorley Chatter podcast.
At the Mortgage Store Chorley, we love doing our bit to bring the community together. Offering advice on mortgage and protection products from providers from across the market, we're also passionate about connecting our clients with the best solutions for their individual circumstances. The Mortgage Store has been operating for over 20 years, and with the customer experience at the heart of what we do, we would love the chance to support you when it's time to make your next mortgage decision. For a free initial consultation, please visit www.the-mortgagestorechorley.co.uk or DM us on Facebook at The Mortgage Store Chorley.